Hello, thank you for joining me today on the channel, folks, as I begin Hunter x Hunter. It's a big moment. It's a big moment on the channel. It really is, to commit to this anime. It's really quite a long anime, but I felt that the time is right. The timing is right. You know, really recently I kind of changed my perspective on a few things. You know, I think now is the time to really get into the longer series. You know, Monster is another one on the channel. In the past, I used to just say, you know, I'll get to it at some point. I'll get to these at some point. But I think the best time is just now, right? Because the longer you put it off, the less likely it becomes, right? Listen, you know, I'm not in my mid-20s anymore. So, you know, perhaps my time as a content creator is a little bit limited. Now, I don't want to alarm anyone. You know, I'm not saying after a certain point I'll stop doing this, but, you know, yeah. Especially for long series, I don't want to commit to something and not finish it. So I just felt that now is the time. And again, this is one of the most requested on the channel as well. The thing is, this was actually on a poll, a recent poll, the most recent poll, and Monster ended up taking that. And I did end up pulling this like a day before the poll launched. And that was because there was a lot of heat. There was a lot of heat on this anime and a few others that are under the same banner, perhaps. And it wasn't just a YouTube thing, it was kind of risky on Patreon as well. A lot of people got hit. A lot of people had to take a lot of stuff down. But then I looked into it. I asked a few content creator friends, and you know, they gave me their take on it and how they're able to kind of continue doing Hunter x Hunter content. So I'm going to implement that, right? So yeah, you know, I just decided myself, I'm going to bring this in as well. Right? And I felt that it was kind of needed because Fullmetal Alchemist has concluded, and it's left a bit of a shonen hole on the channel. So I thought it was a good move to at least have one shonen take over that slot, perhaps. So yeah, you know, I think the lineup, by the time this comes out as well, is going to be a fantastic lineup of anime on the channel. But yeah, you know, in terms of the things I know it's one of the pillars of shonen anime, right? Right up there, alongside stuff like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Again, it's one of the shows or anime I've been really excited about. And it's actually really quite a strange and exciting feeling to actually get into it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, because of this anime specifically, thank you. Thank you for joining me. I think it's a great community over here. And of course, it's always nice to have new people join the community as well. Right, so I hope there's a lot of new faces and names in the comment sections. And also, you know, if you're interested in early access to the next few episodes right now, or perhaps even timer-based full length, consider becoming a patron through patreon.com. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also, there's links to social media if you're into that. But I think that should do it for the intro, folks. Let's get into it. Here's Hunter x Hunter, episode 1. Kaiju. Kaiju. Ooh. 財宝、魔境、秘境、一という言葉が放つ魔力。その力に魅せられたすごい奴らがいる。人は彼らをハンターと呼ぶ。Ooh, right up top. Love it. Oh, nothing can compare to the opening of a new show, man. Oh, the feeling of diving into something grand. There he is. The man in green, or the child in green. The Lord of the Lake, Gon. Is this Mom? The Hunter exam. A special child, perhaps. Oh? Could be the opposite, lads. Ah, beautiful transition. Maybe she is confident that he is going to pull this off. Anytime there's a mention of the old man, the father figure, my ears perk up. Oh! Did you? Go on then. That's a lot of green, man. Let's see if there's a psychological reason for that perhaps as well, right? The reason he's attracted to green. It actually kind of even feels like a game, doesn't it? Whoa! Nice. Okay. The Lord of the Lake has been conquered. They keep mentioning him. Oh. Now, is this biological mom? Because he said Mito's son. Of course. Of course. It's understandable. Sure is. Game. Am I looking at yet another absent father? Got ourselves a bit of a coming of age story, perhaps a hero's journey as well. Oh my god. Here you go. He's looking at it from another perspective. Wow. He's young. He's young. Okay. Okay. I like that mindset, for sure. Kind of like Ash Ketchum over here. Oh, love that perspective. Oh, yes. Oh, I'll have a good time taking a lot of these frames. Wow, I like it. Snappy. Ooh, I just got chills. Off you go, young man. I was just about to say, are you going to go on and become a legend? I hope to see it. I hope to see it. Oh boy. Now it's time to get into the real world. It's spiky. Out of his bubble for sure at this point. Yep. Not everyone is kind. Gotta love a hardened captain, sailor. You can smell it. Ooh. It's a special one, that's for sure. Oh, 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 he recognizes. Yeah, it is. So he knew his father, most likely. Oh. It'll be interesting to see like the aging process or how much of it actually covers. I'm sure someone might be standing. That boy again. And this one. This man's much older. Green apples, the best types. Gotta be a little bit crazy, right? It's good to have this type of personality, for sure, but it's rough out here. Kurapika. Leorio. Whoa, that voice? Is. Oh yeah. It is. Okay. In his father's footsteps, eh? Look at this. The captain must have known as well about the storm, oncoming storm. Oh, later stages, okay. He's tiny, isn't he? I mean, there's bit. Is that Jean's voice from Shingeki? Oh. Oh. The Phantom Troop. Ooh, the score took a turn just now. Something tells me he might get close. Yeah. It's... Let me channel it now. Ooh. Leorio. Fair enough. A lot of different. And he's not taking that back. I was just gonna say he's really quite goofy in nature, but there's got to be something below the surface, right? That's interesting. Mita-san. Great. That's great. This kid is beyond his years, man. Impressive, most impressive. It might not be Jean's voice actor, but it's similar. And your choice? Okay. Ugh. That's, yeah. Much more important. Oh. Whoa. Get his legs, get his legs. Ah, look at this. There is a chemistry there already, kind of. Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say he does have Ah, he places trust in them.
掴んでくれたじゃん。ありがとう、ゴン。命の恩人だ。俺が助けたわけじゃないよ。この二人がいたから助かったんだ。
Look at that. Doesn't need to take the credit for himself either.
礼には及ばぬ。今までの非礼を詫びよう。
Ah.
すまなかった、レオリオさん。なんだよいきなり。レオリオでいいよ、レオリオ。俺も悪かった。
About the clan. God knew it's going to pay out like this, essentially. He saw a lot of qualities on display, right? Whose voice is this? Okay, episode 1 of Hunter x Hunter, or Hunter x Hunter, is in the books. Yes. You know, before I go any further, there's actually this really wholesome transition that happens here, for me at least, from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood to this anime, Hunter x Hunter. Right? The title of the final episode there, I believe it was Journey's End. And now, look at this, the beginning of a brand new journey. I mean, it's explicitly the narrator, who I'm not sure if I've heard already. Maybe it could be Leorio, a more serious Leorio, perhaps, in that narration, or it could be someone else, right? Maybe just a series narrator. But the point is, I felt that it was a really lovely transition for me personally, right? Going from that shonen, an incredible shonen, incredible anime, to now this anime, this incredible shonen, right? That's all I hear about this. It's one of the best, comparable to Full Metal Alchemist. Some say it's even better, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it probably comes down to personal preference for many of these, but you know, just the fact that it is considered one of the best, of course, that makes it so exciting, right? It's essentially meant to be like one of the pillars of shonen anime, alongside a few others. But yeah, I'm in it. Isn't it kind of crazy? Let me know if you're feeling the same thing at the moment. To me, it feels almost surreal. Kind of crazy that I'm at this point now, that I'm entering, you know, this type of anime as well now, a really long one. And I'm getting to this point after having wrapped up a bunch of them on the channel already. But yeah, this is a massive undertaking. But you know, there's some strong signs here that I'm in for a treat. I'm in for a really fantastic experience. Though that being said, you know, it's just the first episode. Even though it's really quite an impressive first episode, I thought it's a great first episode. Like I mentioned, it's snappy pacing. I felt that it really effectively gives the audience all the information they need as of this point, right? I mean, right after the intro, and you know, for those who don't know on YouTube, I usually skip the intros. Many times it turns out that there are spoilers, or you know, there might be hints of future episodes. It might show me a character before I actually get to see them. Listen, I know some people think it's being picky, but it's just a personal preference, because I'd rather see a character or a location or anything in the context of the show itself rather than in the intro before I get to see them. And also on top of that, anime intros are notorious for being really quite spoilery, right? So yeah, you know, maybe after a certain point it'll be safe to check it out. But yeah, you know, immediately they set up the concept of a hunter. These are licensed professionals, right? Rather than the idea of a pirate or something similar to a pirate. Outlaws. These are not outlaws, right? Licensed professionals. And the test, the hunter testing, or the hunter test as the captain called it, I love that. I love that character, right? You see those types of characters all the time, but they're such fantastic facilitators, right? Battle hardened, lots of experience under his belt. He's been there, he's done that, he's seen some things, right? He's been there and back. And, the shine in the eye, right? On two different occasions, the shine in the eye is mentioned. First is the grandma type guardian figure in his life. He's got two guardian figures from the looks of it. Mito-san, and again, she looks like a grandma to me, so I'll call her grandma for now. She said, yeah, he has the same shine in his eyes as his father. Jing, was it? And then, of course, a little bit later, the captain also notices that shine in the eyes. But beyond that, he just kind of understood that look in the eyes. He clocked that look, right? It's a familiar look, because then a little bit later, it's confirmed, indeed, Jing is someone that is known in the community, right? Or at least, this captain has some prior relationship, or they've come across each other at some point in some capacity. But yeah, going back to the really effective setup in the opening stages of this episode, right? The idea or concept or the profession of hunters, right? These incredible people, even as a narrator stated, right? Some of these incredible people are drawn to the magic of the unknown. Oh, I love that. I love the idea of that, right? Of course, right? There is an allure to the unknown, right? And clearly, there is a type of person that is kind of cut out for that job, for that line of work, for that, that path in life, right? Even though, they are kind of grounding it as a profession and establishing it in the professional sense, clearly, it's going to go beyond that, the idea of a hunter, the idea of exploring, the idea of meeting like-minded individuals out there, new and unique people out there, right? Fellow aspiring hunters. Just the episode count, it doesn't really fill me with dread. It actually makes it even more exciting, because after the things I've seen in episode 1, one of the things I'm most excited about so far is the world of this anime. I'll be honest, it was really kind of reminding me of early One Piece, right? The feeling I had back then. There's a few similarities, right? I'm sure many of you might have seen it as well. That being said, I'm not expecting this to be One Piece, but there are some similarities. And that's a good thing, because as some of you know by now, I adore One Piece. I really do, right? So yeah, I'm quite excited about that. And I think it already did a great job of fleshing out some of that in episode 1, right? But it's just scratching the surface, isn't it? Unexplored lands, evil enclaves, exotic animals and places and treasure, all that good stuff, right? Some of these things are really quite reminiscent of One Piece, to me at least. And then, of course, not every single hunter is going to have the exact same motivation. There's a lot of unique motivations on display already, right? Through the 3 main cast members, at this point at least. You've got Gon, of course, Kurapika, right? And Leorio. Just right then and there, it's clearly a deliberate choice to present all 3 of them and their motivations. Really unique motivations, contrasting motivations even. You've got Leorio, who's really quite materialistic, and I think that is a legitimate reason. That is a legitimate motivation, right? He wants to be rich. He wants to make money. He wants, again, materialistic things. I don't see any reason to, judge him on that, right? He's quirky. He's really much older than the other two. Gon is clearly the youngest. They said something like it's been 20 years since someone caught the King of the Lake, was it? 20 years ago, his father caught it. Now 20 years later, Gon, right? In his father's footsteps. There's this sense of inevitability there, isn't there? Even Mito-san. The concern that she has, of course, first of all, as a guardian figure, and clearly she's not the biological mom because he keeps saying Mito-san, right? But clearly someone that is close enough in relation, clearly someone that Gon's father trusted enough, right, to leave his son with. And I've got to say, she's done an incredible job on Gon. He's a wonderful, delightful young man. You know, kind, selfless, reckless even, right? As he lunged in to save that one man's life. Though, of course, he was confident that the other two are going to jump in as well to, you know, save him. You know, he's trusting in that sense. Maybe you could call him a little bit naive. And yes, you know, maybe he is a bit naive. And he just recently kind of stepped out of his bubble, and he almost immediately gets to see maybe a bit more of the rough side, right? Of how people treat each other. The moment he steps on the ship, you know, he sees real people, people that he's not related to, people that he hasn't grown up around. And I think this is actually kind of mild still. As, you know, the journey continues, as they go to different places, as he goes to different places, he's going to see a lot of things, a lot of dark things. You know, there's some terrible things out there. I mean, yes, of course, there's incredible things out there, right? There's also terrible things out there. There's terrible people out there. And I do feel that he is going to have his own trials and tribulations, life-threatening situations, perhaps. I just got this distinct feeling of this is just scratching the surface, right? There's just so much to get to. And again, you know, the runtime, or sorry, not the runtime, the episode run, the run count, that in itself also actually tells me quite a bit, right? If it was like a 50 episode thing, if it's 60 episodes, some of my expectations and thoughts might have been a little bit different in comparison to this anime's actual episode count. So yeah, that plays a part for sure. But yeah, you know, let's kind of continue on the main cast members. Leorio, yeah, I spoke on Leorio, right? Yeah, I like it. You know, he's a bit of a goof, bit of a fun character to have. But it feels like a lot of it is exterior. I think internally, you know, below all of that, I think there is a good person. There is a nice person. I'm sure there is a kind person there as well. And you kind of get to see a bit of that near the conclusion as him and Kurapika kind of follow Gon's lead and, you know, kind of tap into their better judgment, their better selves, and kind of, you know, apologize to each other. So both of them have that in there, right? The capacity is in there. And I think him being the older one, yeah, you know, not saying he'll play the guardian figure, but I think he could play a bit of a protective role at times, for sure. But again, early days, you know, that kind of thing might take some time. And then you have Kurapika, who, I mean, the tone, the tonal shift as Kurapika starts going into his motivations and his backstory, or, you know, a hint of that backstory, a dark backstory. And I love the shift. It's almost like a dramatic shift in the tone of the score as well, isn't it? And through that, I think the first episode here did a fantastic job of kind of hinting at the future of the story as well, right? It did both things really quite effectively. You know, things that I need to know just for this episode as well, right? But then also setting up enticing and intriguing plot points down the line. This Phantom Troop massacre of Kurapika's tribe or people, the last remaining member of that tribe. Ooh, man, once it gets to that storyline, that story arc, I know that's about to be dark, especially if they actually go into detail about that massacre as well. The Phantom Troop. Apparently they have some significant bounty on them. I think he said something like it's a bounty A-type or A-type bounty. But yeah, I've got to say this name drop or this mention of this Phantom Troop, it is one of the more exciting and intriguing setups in this episode, right? Listen, I'm not saying, you know, I'm excited to see this massacre, but it is intriguing nonetheless. It really is. But yeah, Kurapika himself, stoic, level-headed, intelligent. He's an introvert, but you see that he does kind of open up here. By the end of this episode, there is a bit of camaraderie that's kind of building. It is beginning to build, right? And, in that sense, I think there's a lot of great themes already kind of clear to see, I think. Themes of friendship, found family, loyalty, betrayal even, perhaps, right? Abandonment. One of the sad things, or one of the sad scenes or moments of this episode is the fact that Gon understands that his father abandoned him, even though his take on it, his spin on it is something exciting to him. He still uses the term abandon, right? I believe in that conversation, as Mito-san is really trying to get through to him, about the nature of the path he's about to step into. His response to Mito-san, it was something like, "Isn't it so amazing, right? Being a hunter is so great that he was willing to abandon his own kind." Again, abandon being the key term that he himself used, right? So in his mind, his father is this larger than life figure, right? Someone he actually looks up to. So from his perspective, it's already kind of established as this, surely, it must be something really amazing. Must be something so amazing that he could leave me behind. And then, of course, the driving force, the single cause and effect pathway is established, right? I'm going to become a hunter so I can discover, why exactly it was so important to my father to become a hunter or to pursue this, right? And leave me behind. Or he wanted to pursue this so much that he had to leave me behind, right? So he wants an understanding of that. Listen, he said, "Oh, it's amazing. It must be so great that he was open to abandoning his own kind." I don't know if it's going to play out like that, right? There's a lot, in terms of possibilities, there's a few possibilities. There's no mention of his biological mother, right? So is it possible that his father becomes a hunter for that reason, perhaps? Maybe his mother is dead at this point. She's not in the picture, right? So I don't know. Maybe she's still out there, and as the story progresses, maybe I'll come across her. Maybe there's a reason she's not in the picture at the moment. But one of the possibilities is maybe she's dead, and then he's out there trying to find the person responsible or the people responsible. That's a bit of a far-fetched one because they do show photos of him, right? And he seemed really quite happy. So I think I'm already kind of scrapping that potential thought, right? There's a photo of him. And he kind of had a similar poncho, but that poncho was green. And, the thing is, I mentioned Full Metal Alchemist. Hohenheim immediately came to mind. The concept of, or the trope of the absent father is one I've kind of come across a few times at this point, really recently. Usually I give these types of characters the benefit of the doubt. There's Grisha Jaeger as well from Shingeki. Of course, all three of them clearly quite unique in terms of their reasoning. Of course, Gon's father's reasoning isn't really specified just yet. Again, early days, episode 1. But usually my stance on that type of character is that they must have had a reason, and the story is going to explain that reason in due time, right? So let's see. But the thing is, I say that, but Mito-san, again, someone he clearly trusted enough to leave his son with, she actually appears to have stated the exact reason he left him. She said he abandoned you in order to become a hunter, or he abandoned you in favor of being a hunter. I don't think she has any reason to lie about this. She's clearly someone who's quite concerned for Gon. There's a beautiful moment, the goodbye hug. It's a tough thing, right? Listen, she might not be the biological mom, but she is a mom nonetheless. She had a hand in his growth and teaching him his foundations, his values, right? She's been good for him, really good for him. And then, of course, based on that, there's a possibility that maybe he just wasn't ready for this, because a child is your life. It becomes your life, right? So yeah, sure, perhaps it doesn't have to be something grand, especially because the character in episode 1 is already kind of point blank stating the reasoning, It could just be that. It's that concept of marriage and having a child kind of closing some doors forever. But of course, it opens new doors as well. But some doors are closed forever, right? That's how I look at it as well in my own personal life. Sure, in a few years' time, there might be a mini me running around, but at the moment, I'm not in that mindset because there's a lot of things I still want to do in life before that phase of life, right? But I'm not saying I don't want that phase of life. It'll come, and I'm excited for that as well down the line in the near future. But for now, there's a few things that need to be done that I want to do. And in that sense, I can kind of relate to Gon's father if that is the case here, right? But of course, the sad part is that he did have a child and he left the child here. I mean, he does end up leaving Gon with these people, really nice people, caring people, right? People he trusts, clearly. So it's not as if he just, left him out there by himself. But, again, I'm not excusing it, but I am trying to understand. I know it's episode 1, but I am already intrigued by this man. Gon, this is an optimistic kid, full of optimism, of course, but I'm sure it's going to be tested, right? I think he'll reach breaking points out there. Let's see if anything breaks him, if anything can break that spirit that he has, that shine in his eye. Is that shine in the eye always going to remain? But yeah, he even has leadership qualities, right? You see, even in this episode, that people followed his example. There's that moment as Gon, instead of resting, he's looking out for that one guy, right? And then it catches everyone's attention. You've got Leorio looking in. You've got, oh crap, I already kind of forgot the name. Kurapika, right? They start looking at this. And then, of course, him leading by example once again. Of course, you can kind of call it reckless as well, right? Reckless abandon, didn't care about his own life one bit, and jumps out there at a moment's notice to save that man, who's really quite grateful, really grateful. And, he didn't feel the need to take the entire credit because, yeah, he believes that if those two didn't grab his feet, both of them would have been, lost at sea, drowned, essentially. But yeah, I like his attitude. But, it's a type of attitude that gets tested a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of wholesome moments, especially his town that he comes from. But, stepping out of that bubble and not going into the real world, yeah, it can be rough. It can be spiky. So I'm excited to see that aspect of it as well. Right? His growth. I mentioned the age factor. Given the episode count, it's something I am thinking about. Time skips. Am I going to see him actually grow up as the story arcs progress, right? Is he going to be much older looking by the time I get to the final few episodes? So yeah, these things are in the back of my mind already. And also going back to Kurapika, right? Filled with this righteous rage, right? And my God, there's this line of dialogue. Oof. I do not fear death. I only fear that my rage will fade with time. God damn. Oof. Yeah, great selection of characters here in episode 1 and motivations, like I said earlier. And dark past. Like I said, it's already kind of alluding to the dark nature of the world they live in, right? I doubt it's going to be all wholesome and fun the whole time. Being out there means going through a lot of tough situations, right? Life-changing moments, character-changing moments, moments that are going to test you, really tricky moments. That's the nature of the unknown. That's the nature of the world. And people, unique people at every corner. And I'm excited about that. The potential of the ensemble cast. And listen, I'm not sure if this is just meant to be a generic outline, but that one frame of the silhouettes of all these hunters, if those are actually characters I'll get to meet, that's a really exciting touch, a really cool touch to present it in that manner, right? Maybe down the line I can look back and kind of clock and point out each one of these silhouettes once I get to meet them. Or it could just be a generic look at it, right? To me, my first thought was, okay, these might be characters in the story that I'll get to meet. But being in this profession, being a hunter, clearly it's a bit of a privileged position as well, right? Because Kurapika mentioned, it gains you access to a lot of things that you could not access as a civilian. Important information, other important things, and perhaps they'll be testing their diverse set of skills, right? Because these are special people, right? Not everyone can be a hunter, even if everyone wants to be a hunter. They made that really clear, as most of them, the majority of them, get shipped back out, right? Crossed off that list. There's only 3 standing at the moment. And of course, I see a diverse set of skills already on display through Gon. Ooh. Yeah, that's, it's in his blood, essentially, right? And beyond that, I am going to give him credit. I think he has trained for it, even at that young age. He's been dialed in. He's been quite diligent, and I think he's practiced, and he got better at these things. One of the standout moments is him actually clocking the storm. And of course, it's pretty clear a bit later that, of course, the captain knew about the storm, right? And that's the reason he takes the whole ship of them down into the storm, right? To see how they handle that, right? Most of them cannot, right? And and he feels that if they can't even handle this little storm, there's no chance they'll be able to go through the rest. But Gon, he can smell it in the atmosphere. And again, to me, it didn't feel like it's meant to be something like a superpower, more so something he's developed over time, right? By being diligent, by practicing. And then, of course, him saying that, that's what the seagulls are saying. I took it as he's able to read the behavior and the sounds. Again, practice, right? And they showed us that his house is on that hilltop and there's a lot of seagulls there. So he kind of grew up around those seagulls as well. So he studied them a lot. So I love that he's really quite capable already, right? A bit of a child prodigy in that sense. And I think Mito-san actually knew, right? She was dreading that he is going to be able to catch that fish. He is going to go on and do that testing because she knows he's really quite capable and really quite impressive, right? So I think she was kind of dreading that as well. But she is quite protective. I think she's also potentially protecting him from these answers he's looking for. But yeah, I think that should do it, folks. Really enjoyable first episode. And if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in early access to the next few episodes right now, or perhaps even full length, timer-based full length, of course, consider checking out the Patreon page. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media. Consider checking out the Twitter or Instagram page. I'm a bit more active on Twitter. And of course, just following a content creator on Twitter is also quite supportive because it does help in furthering a content creator's reach in terms of opportunities as well, right? So yeah, consider these things. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks. And thank you for your time because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 2 and beyond. Until then, take it easy.